My name is Steve Hernandez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut State Legislature's Nonpartisan Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. We are so honored today to be joined by our partner in the work of the Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative, the Department of Social Services, to host the Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative's A Father's Day Conversation. This is so exciting, right at the foot of what was a Father's Day this weekend. We wanted to bring members of our community who are dads together to really talk about the core mission of the Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative, which is to teach, love, and inspire. I'm so excited that we're joined by esteemed members of the community, esteemed members of the legislature, and others to come together for this wonderful conversation. Firstly, I'd like to invite my co-host, Kathleen Brennan, who is the DSS Deputy Commissioner, to see if she has a few words of welcome. Welcome, Deputy Commissioner.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kathy Brennan. I am the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Social Services. I'm so pleased to be a part of a Father's Day conversation sponsored by the Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative. In addition to my role as Deputy Commissioner at DSS, I am proud to serve as co-chair of the Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative Council. I am even more proud to share this responsibility with my CFI Council co-chair, Senator Marilyn Moore. Thank you, Senator Moore, for all that you do for the residents of the state of Connecticut and in support of this critical work. I'd also like to thank the members of the CFI Strategic Plans Policy and Public Awareness Committee for planning this special event, and of course to Stan Simpson for agreeing to serve as our esteemed moderator for tonight's discussion ahead. And last but not least, happy belated Father's Day to all of the fathers on this virtual convening. I hope all of you enjoyed time with your children, and perhaps you were able to find some time for yourself, maybe watching a little golf like my husband did. Now on to the business at hand. The Connecticut Fatherhood Initiative, also known as the CFI, is a multi-agency, broad-based effort involving state and local partners focused on changing systems to support the positive involvement of fathers in every aspect of their children's lives. We come together in our fatherhood work as representatives from state and local agencies, as advocates, as policymakers, but many of us are also mothers and fathers and sons and daughters who've had our own lived experiences when it comes to fatherhood. Some stories may be positive, some may not be as positive, but we know here in Connecticut and across our great nation and the rest of the world, there are countless fathers doing their very best every day to strengthen and shape their family. I'm excited to listen to a lively conversation with the fathers who have agreed to participate tonight, sharing their perspectives on raising sons and daughters. We're so appreciative for the dads who are taking their time out of their very busy lives to participate in this event. The upcoming panel conversation will revolve around the words in the CFI logo: teach, love, inspire. We look forward to hearing how you have and continue to teach, love, and inspire your children, as well as others around you. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. And with that, I'll turn it back to Stephen Hernandez as I sit back and enjoy this conversation.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you so much. And I too want to share with you that welcome to our viewers, not only right now on Facebook Live, but also the other media presences that this broadcast will really interact with. But I want to remind our viewers that if you do have questions, any comments that you want to direct to us, we will be watching the feed. So please feel free to take part in the conversation. Also, a special shout out to Anthony Judkins, who is my co-chair of Domain 5 of the CFI, as you mentioned. We're so happy to work with you on this endeavor, and truly teach, love, and inspire. And I have to tell you, if there is a Connecticut resident that teaches and that loves this state and that inspires all of us, it's our moderator for tonight, Stan Simpson. Stan, you're the principal and president of Stan Simpson Enterprises, a strategic communications firm. He's worked in the media business for 30 years and is a multi-award winning journalist. Mr. Simpson is among a small number in the media business who have served as a newspaper columnist, the Hartford Courant, a radio talk show host, CBSO and WTIC News Talk 1080 AM, and a television talk show host for Fox 61. Mr. Simpson's expertise is in developing comprehensive strategic communications plans for his clients and sharpening their message. And I'll tell you, we are so honored to have you here today, Stan, to take away this conversation with our dads. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and appreciate all you joining here on Zoom. It's going to be hopefully a very candid conversation with dads, some very distinguished dads, who will talk about sort of the trepidations you have with fatherhood, the challenge of teaching, loving, inspiring. You know, dads sort of get a bad rap from my perspective. So I think you're going to hear from these panelists that, you know, dads really do care deeply about being good role models, about raising their children. So without further ado, what I want to do is introduce our panelists and then get into a lively conversation. We have, first of all, Michael Smith. Michael Smith is married with 2 sons. Both are in their 20s, youngest of 9 children. He's a paralegal with the State Department of Consumer Protection. We're also joined by Justin Mitchell, father of 5, ranging in age from 25 to 10 years old. He started a fatherhood initiative called Bald Heads with a Z to help fathers, including himself, raise children, emphasizing mental health and education. Also has coached youth sports. Dal McGraw, 3 kids, including being a foster parent, an addictions counselor, recovery support specialist, and a criminal justice professional. He is co-founder of Formerly Inc., which provides programs and insight for those who are formerly incarcerated. Also very involved in his community as a basketball coach. Then we have LaRue Graham, 3 children, including a senior in high school. Congratulations. Executive Director, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club in Meriden. He's also a community leader and also very involved in youth sports. So sort of a common thread. And then Stefan Palmer, single father, CEO and founder of Youth on Fire, Inc. He's also a business and community leader. And then we're also joined by State Rep Brandon L. McGee Jr., State Rep Hartford and parts of Windsor, community activist. Father of 1, I'm his Facebook friend, so I see him showing pictures of him and his daughter all the time. Now she's growing up, so he's a very proud dad. House chairman of the legislature's Housing Committee and the former co-chair of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus. So folks, thank you for joining us, and we'll get right into it. First thing, an observation. I'm looking at all the dads here, including myself, and I see no ties on. Now I know at least 4 of you got ties yesterday for your Father's Day gift. So where are those ties? We'll move along. Inside joke. First question, Brandon McGee. If you, and the panelists you can follow after this, I'll direct your attention to it. If you had the opportunity, Brandon, to listen in on your children reflecting about you, what would you like to hear from them about you?
Wow. First of all, thank you to the commission and also to you, Stan, for the work that you do. And I'm honored to be on a panel with all these amazing Black men, Black fathers, representing their children and also men across the state. I have 2 little girls, Stan, 2 and 4. So I've been a little busy over the years, and we're done. And so one thing that and I'm here with my oldest now, but one thing I would probably love to hear is that my dad spent time with us. I knew or know that he's extremely busy, but he sacrificed all of that to be with us at games, recitals, or just to be there to have lunch, eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and he listened. And he didn't judge me, and that would be very special to me.
Interesting. You know, I had a venerable dad years ago when I first had my children. And I said, hey, give me some advice. I had a good father, but give me some advice on what you would do with your kids. And he said, don't miss nothing. And he said, he went on and explained that his daughter and his children, he said, if he missed one baseball game, very busy guy, he said they never forgot it, even as they were older. It always stayed with them. He said, don't miss nothing. Plays, recitals, baseball games, go to them. Dal McGraw, same question. If you had the opportunity to listen to your children reflecting about you, what would you like for them to say about you?
First of all, I wanted to once again just thank everybody for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thanks to the commission. Stan, it's good to see you.
Okay, I think Daryl, we had a little technical issues with you. We're gonna, when you pop it, I see you there. Are you there, Daryl?
Yeah, my internet is a little weird, so I would just
Okay.
hope. Can you
You're
guys
coming
hear
in
me?
now. What I'm gonna do, we're gonna come back to you. Hopefully the tech folks can figure that out. We'll come back to you, Daryl. LaRue Graham, same question. If you get the opportunity to hear, listening on your kids, what would you want them to say about you if they're talking to their friends or family?
Well, again, I think that the thought of that might be a little scary, but I think, just keeping in the same theme as Representative McGee, really just the overall thing was that my dad was present. He was there for us all the time. And so as a dad, that's what I've tried to do and try to be. I've allowed myself to have, job opportunities that have given me that ability to have that flexibility to be present. And so I guess that's what I'd want to hear most, that I was present.
Stefan Palmer?
For me, I've heard my children talk, and they say I push education too hard and I'm too overprotective, and I love too hard. The last one I've never heard before, but I understand, as they get older, I have to back up a little. But hey, when you love your kids, you go the full 9 for them.
Love too hard. I want you to build a real quick. When you love too hard, what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it's always being there, as everyone else has already said so far. Being there, being present. When they cry at night, being the first one to jump up. When they're sick, the first one to clean up the throw up. I don't mean to say that, but the throw up. When they're going through issues, you want to be the first one they talk to. And okay, you know what? I know mommy got it, but let me talk to you too. I might have the idea too, but just loving them unconditionally.
Michael Smith?
Well, I guess, yep, I'm here. Let me think. Well, the first thing I would want to know or want them to say is that they knew who I was as a person, what I believed in, what I didn't believe in, things like that. That I was always in their corner, no matter what. That I talked to them and I heard them when they spoke to me. That's become more important as they've gotten older, because now I'm kind of like dealing with these 2 men and we're having conversations that, wow, kind of, I never thought I'd be having with my son, but.
Like what?
Oh gosh, well, let me see. One of my older boys came up to me or my older boy came up to me and, he said that there was a young lady who liked him and, he wanted to know what to do about that. And I'm like, well, we're in a time of COVID, and I'm like, there's not much you can do about that, because you're not visiting anybody and they're not coming to visit you. So that was kind of a conversation I never thought I'd have. I mean, I also been like almost like an intermediary sometimes when, because my wife, when she's like having issues with the kids, they're coming to me. So.
Are you the good cop or the bad cop?
Oh, well, I try, at this point in time in their lives, because they're adults now, I tell my wife, hey, something, you got a problem with them, you have to work that out. When they have a problem with me, I got to work that out. So.
All right, Justin Mitchell, same question. You had the opportunity to listen to your children's conversation about you. What would you want to hear?
Well, I got my oldest 25, the youngest 10, so it's going to be a gambit of speaking about me. I just want them to know that I want them to work hard. I was born in the projects, and just because they might have a better upbringing than we had, growing up, I don't want them to feel entitled. I don't want them to think life is easy. So I always put pressure on them. They'll appreciate it later on, but just making sure that they know that hard work brings success. I don't want to give them things I didn't have, but I want them to know things I didn't know. So I'm always pushing education. I'm always pushing, trying to better themselves. So they know when dad come around, he always talking, like put your phone down, talking. My son said the other day, he said, who are you? I'm trying to evolve, son, trying to evolve, bro.
Well, speaking of evolving, you had a 15-year gap between children. So how did you evolve as a dad? How were you at with your first child, and how do you see yourself growing with your second one?
It's a learning experience. My first one I had in high school. You know, there was no book. You know how to be a dad. So
No how-to manual, huh?
You know, it was like I just didn't want to kill her. I didn't want to drop her. I didn't want to hurt her. So I got through that. And me and her, we real tight, very close. She knows the struggles that, you know, 18-year-old Justin went through. And, you know, it's just a learning process. And, you know, I wouldn't want it any other way.
I'm gonna stay with you, Justin. What's the biggest thing you learned though? If you had to point to one thing, hey, I'm a better dad because of this. What things did you improve on in that 15-year gap there? What did you, how did you get better as a dad between the first one and the second one?
Just working on me personally, you know, and not being selfish. You know, 18-year-old Justin was selfish, still had hoop dreams, still wanted to be out with the fellas and doing things like that. And I had to understand that the child, they come first. And I had to learn that through time.
All right, Darryl McGraw, we're gonna try you again. Give me a thumbs up or we'll put you on the screen. Hopefully your audio is working. If not, we will loop you back in. Darryl, you there?
Hey, Stan. Yeah, Stan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We got a plan. You had a plan B for us, huh?
Man, you listen, I'm in the office building. You know, we make it happen, man. I'm moving around. I'm going to get some light in a minute. But, you know, this is the way it works in the hood, man. So, you know, this Zoom, man, we're making it work.
So the question was, if you had the opportunity, you heard the question, to hear your kids talking about you, what would you like for them to say about you?
Oh, I want them to say that Dad made it happen, man. You know, change is possible. The kids got to see me at all different levels of change, and anything is possible. You know, and then I like what one of my colleagues said about being present. You know, I got to watch my son on the football field, and, you know, even though he didn't get in the game a lot, he had the opportunity to turn around and give me that thumbs up on the thing. And, you know, that to me is priceless. And I just think that, you know, just opportunity. I always say that being a dad is the best job in the world. So I would like them to say that, you know, Dad definitely showed us some things, showed us that anything is possible.
Why is it the best job in the world?
Best job in the world because for me, like, you know, I didn't be chosen. I got chosen 3 times. You know, I have 2 daughters and a son in the middle. And you know, I've done a lot of, you know, you know, I'm very fortunate. Those that know my story know I'm very fortunate. I've had some great opportunities to make change and to be a change agent in the state. But, you know, to be an impact in children's lives is best job in the world. And, you know, there's no paycheck that comes with that, only the smiles on their faces when they see, you know, just the simple things. I got a t-shirt yesterday for my daughter for her first job. And she handed me that t-shirt and a couple of boxes of candy that I like, you know, Mike and Ike's, just to say, you know, old school kid. Brandon knows about those Mike and Ike's, right? And I got those, and you know what an opportunity, because she chose to spend her money on me, man. You know, her first check.
You know, males express themselves differently. All of you have different management styles, different emotional styles. I want you to talk to me about how do you express your love, your empathy, and how do you try to build a connection with your child? Are you an affectionate dad? Some dads, you know, don't. My dad wasn't a very affectionate dad. I knew he loved you, but he wasn't the kind of guy who would tell you that he loved you. Other dads who were very affectionate. So how do you describe your management style, how you express your love, and how you best try to build empathy with your child? Well, I'll start with Michael.
Oh, okay. Well, in our house, we give lots of hugs. We also, we're not afraid to kind of ask for help when we need it. And we're always offering help to our kids, you know, if they need it. And asking for help, that kind of gives them that opportunity to kind of give back, you know. Let's see. We also kind of, you know, have this idea or attitude of whether you help or don't help, it doesn't make any difference. You know, it is what it is, and we love you nonetheless. You know,
Stefan.
we kind of let them know that.
Stefan Palmer, same question. How do you express your love?
Well, I have 2 boys and 3 girls. So with my daughters, it's open communication. I've cried with them. We've sat on the bed and, you know, my middle daughter, when she's going through a rough time, she'll say, Daddy, can I paint your fingernails? That means she wants to talk. When she first did it, I was like, nah, I'm not, that's not happening. No. But after the first year, I realized that was her icebreaker. And then with my boys, my oldest is 21 now. So his communication skills was through wrestling. We would watch Monday Night Raw and through while the event was taking place on TV, he would be like, you saw how he got slammed? I saw my friend get slammed like that at school. And he would mix it in with what we were watching. So by just listening and reading the children and learning how they express themselves, it allowed me to understand how to communicate with them. I've told all my children it's okay to cry. Daddy will cry with you. It doesn't make you less of a person. If you don't want to talk about it, write it down. I'll read the letter and I will write back to you. Just communication and understanding that your feelings are important.
So really trying to be a coach and understand how each of your players, your children, click and how to sort of motivate and how to reach them. They're all different people who respond different ways. So like being a good coach, right?
Yes.
LaRue Graham, same question. How do you express your love and empathy, connection?
Well, really, honestly, I mean, as far as empathy and trying to impart that on my kids, I try and use every situation really to kind of teach them value of empathy and to be understanding of people's situations, and try to look at all sides. As far as our affection and things like that, it's really kind of evolved. I mean, as they were kids, I found all of my kids to be much more affectionate as they were kids, but as my boys got older, it became more of a pound and a hug rather than, sitting on dad's lap and giving me a kiss. So the affection has kind of evolved into with the boys a little bit more, 'cause I have two sons, more of a manly understanding and pound. And then, my daughter will always be my daughter. So, she still gives me plenty of hugs and plenty of kisses on the cheek.
Any differences between boys and girls? You see any, Stefan was talking about how you got to manage the personalities. What have you found with the different personalities?
Well, I think it's just a natural evolution of a boy and a girl. Girls, it's weird because my daughter, I was her everything as a kid. And then, when she got into high school and I started putting a little bit of my strict rules on her, we were always close, but not quite as close as we were when she was kids. But then as she became a young adult and she started looking at how other people were raised or really kind of evaluating some of the lessons I try to impart on her, I think she kind of understood a little bit more and appreciated the guidance that I tried to give her. The boys are really kind of the same thing. Unfortunately, I think I give them, while I think I provide all for all of them, I give them a little bit more tough love than I do my daughter.
Mr. Mitchell, how do you express your love with your children?
Well, I got the two boys and the three girls like Mr. Palmer. And, we have a group chat that we send out messages, all five of us. I try to send out pictures and just try to make them realize that there was a time where they loved they loved me a lot. They start to get older. They start to forget how much they depended on their parents, and now they get a little hair on their body, and now they just need me to come pick them up. So I got to remind them and bring them back to where it all started from and things like that. But if anybody knows me, my son Jackson, he taught me probably the most out of all my kids because he's like 6'3", he's about to be 6'4", giant. We played basketball in my house, so I just knew I had me one. I'm like, got him, yes. So he talking about, Dad, I want to dance, Dad, play the drums. And at first I fought it, I still made him play. We'd be playing football, he'd knock a kid down, he picking him up during the middle of the play, like, son, like, the play going on, like, but that's who he was. And I had to really, I was gonna lose him if I kept just being strong on him. And our relationship strayed a little bit because of my stubbornness, right. So I had to learn. So he taught me a lot. That he was like, Dad, that's not what I'm about. My other son Styles, he crazy just like me, so he had that. I didn't really have to do that, but him, and I'm kind of glad that he doesn't have the same temperament because he'd probably be in the group home or something, 6'4", just uncontrollable. So, God puts us, has us here for a reason, and I don't want to change who he is. And I tried to at a point, and I'm glad that I let him be who he is, because he's truly happy and he makes me happy.
That's a great lesson. Letting the child be who they are is probably the biggest lesson you have as a dad, right? Not trying to live vicariously through the child, but let the child develop. Justin, I want to stay with you. You organized the initiative, Bald Heads, a fatherhood, initiative, Bald Heads, HEADZ. And the whole goal here is to help fathers raise their child. And you use sports as sort of a platform where you mentioned in your bio that a lot of dads focusing on athletics and sports, and you want to make sure that you can incorporate some mental health talks and talks about education while using sports as an entree for those conversations. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, well, like sports, we all have, sports as a catalyst to a lot of our stories. And, as myself being a former student athlete, when the sport came to an end, I was lost, so that was my whole, everybody knew me. I played ball, I did that. But when that came to an end, I wasn't focused on school. I was focused on girls. I was just out. So I want them to have something to fall back on. And, the most important game that we all know is the game of life. And when I'm not talking about the board game, I'm talking about that real life. And if we can't control our emotions, if we can't control, those issues that live deep in our tissues, they're going to come out later on in life. And, that's what I try to stress. So, meditation, finding out who I really was, because my identity wasn't the sport. We as Black men up here, I don't want us, the only thing we produce is sweat and entertainment. We are much more than that. And, it took me a while to learn that. And it was through books, reading, evolving into, being the person that I am today. And I just want them to start knowing that they are more worthy than what they are.
State Rep McGee, how do you express your love with your children?
I would agree with every gentleman in this virtual space. And I would add, having two girls, my girls, they really, actually, before I mentioned that, my father, we hugged a lot. So similar to one of the other fathers, my father was very expressive. So he would hug, he would kiss you on the cheek, and he would make you like so uncomfortable, but he wanted us to know that it was okay for number one, father and son to love each other. But number two, this is how you should respond to your family, your children as well. And so I do the same thing with my girls. They paint nails, they do my hair, what little I do have left and I'm trying to hold on to. And they're young, so I'm sure our relationship will evolve over time. But one of my kids is very, very emotional, and then the other is just like hardcore, like this is me. But they're teaching me more than they would ever know on how to communicate, how to express myself, and also to have a little bit of patience and understanding that sometimes people, my daughters at this age, interpret or internalize things a little bit different than I expect. So it's definitely a learning experience that I've enjoyed thus far.
Now, how those skill sets you learned through your kids, how do you think it's helped you as a public figure? You're a state rep, highly visible figure. You mentioned patience and communications. And how do you think that's helped you in the role of politics?
Yeah, so I've been a state rep for 10 years. And I've had children pretty much now for about 6 years now, okay? And I'm telling you that for a reason, because of them, I'm able to really pace myself and understand people for who they are, and everything does not deserve my energy, and some things deserve a little bit more. And so my children, the obvious, listening, and also pacing myself, because you need some energy with a 2 and a 4-year-old, but really understanding that this is a long journey. This is not just a sprint, right? And my children are teaching me that daily. But I had to quickly grow up, right? As a young politician, you're thinking you should be everywhere. You got to go here, got to go there. And, without your family, you are nobody, right? And so I was quickly reminded, you still need to take out the trash. you still need to wash or wipe nose and change diapers and, bring the baby to school every day. I don't care how many meetings you have, you need to figure this out. And it is something that I have enjoyed immensely. And I'm fortunate to really be in this position and allow for my experiences to really inform how I move as a policymaker, essentially.
Now, McGraw, how do you express your love with your children?
Thank you. I really appreciate what everybody said here. All the brothers that said here, which is why I know I'm in great company. Expressing love, is a great question, because as somebody stated, for me, my mom never, I don't want to put my mom on the spot because I'm going to get in trouble. But she didn't express her love. She didn't say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it wasn't until I got into a relationship with my kid's mom, actually, where they said, I love you all the time. And I saw that and I was like, yo, what's wrong with your family? They weird. Why did you just left? You just left. Why y'all keep saying it? But it was something, so it was something that I wanted to carry on into when I raised children. I was like, you know what, and I even questioned my mom in a later age, like, how come you didn't tell us you loved us? She was, oh, I showed you. And so, to say that, our parents did what they did with what they could, right? We always say they had what they had or knew what they knew. And I feel like that was the situation with me. No doubt did I ever question the love that my parents had for me, but actually saying it and expressing it. So me, I'm a little bit, dad is super corny. I don't want to mess up my street cred, but those know I love being a dad, love being a dad. And, so with my daughters, I kiss them, hug my son, but, on a regular basis, I say, I love you. You know what I mean? And I think that it's very important because I knew as a child, it's important to hear that because I don't want them growing up questioning if there was love. Now, if there was any love. And just if I could add the teaching part, because one of the brothers talk about teaching, and my son teaches me way more. I talked about him not getting in the game all the time, but what he taught me about that when he was young playing football is even though he didn't play as much, he suited up, he got ready, right? And he taught me to always be ready to get in the game, ready to get in the game. Whether you play or not, Dad, you got to suit up. He taught me that at 9 years old. And I would have been like, man, they don't let you play, man. I quit, man. Here's my helmet. Here's this. Not him. He taught me, he celebrated. He got dirty playing on the side of the field, not playing in the game, but that didn't matter to him. He showed me something that I will always cherish, always be ready. Hence me running up and down stairs, turning on lights, carrying computers, always be ready to get in the game. So, I honor him with that. And, each child is a little different. Like, it's funny to have a daughter who I feel like is the gangster. That's the one I got to watch. Like, she's the silent me. Like, there's so much that she's got, but they all have, like, one of my daughters is an entrepreneur. She's going to be internet famous and she's got her path. And my son's more laid back. And just like Justin said, man, one of my friends said to me, because of the life that I live now, I never gave him the dog, which means like, he don't have that, like, that anger or that, he wants to pick the guy up off the court too. And you don't want to change that. It's a struggle because, I want you to be aggressive, bro, but
that's street machismo.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So Daryl, I want to stay with you for the next question. What example have you set in living your life that you want your children to learn from?
I think that one of the most important lessons that I think and I hope that I instill in them is to own your mistakes, man, to be open and honest with your mistakes. Like, we all fall, but get back up, fall 7 times, get up 8, and then be able to own that. Like, we have a saying in my house, what was your nickel in that dime, right? What was your what, Daryl? Say it again. What was your nickel in that dime, right? So what was your role? What was your piece in it? What is your piece, or how do you change that? How do you play out in this, right? I know a lot of times kids will come home and talk about what everybody else did. I really want to know about what you did. I really want to know about you. And then, we also, we got a lot of lessons. We also don't use we don't use fair in my house. Fair is the F word. And it's been that, and my kids be like, well, Dad, it's not fair. Oh, I know I can't say fair because I do not want them to feel like life is fair, because I don't want them to go into believing that there is fairness, because you might work just as hard as many of our parents told us. You might work twice as hard and somebody else might get the job. Understand that sometimes that's a reality, but you just keep being the best you that you can be.
Now, Daryl, you've had a very checkered past. You've been very open about your past. You were incarcerated for a few years. You changed your life around. You got 2 academic degrees from Springfield, a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. You got an organization that helps other folks who've been formerly incarcerated. You're on the front lines on social justice reform. I'm curious, how did that time in prison shape you as a better dad? And what do your kids ask you about it? What do you tell your kids about it?
Well, you know, I have very supportive family, which I know a lot of brothers and sisters, for one reason or another, might not have had the luxury that I had of getting visits and being able. My mom was super support system of keeping the kids, whether it be bringing them up or, you know, sharing pictures. I mean, I got a million old school pictures. Thank God that was back then when pictures were actually something you could send in and you didn't have to have a phone. So I had a lot of support of that, you know, in that and going through my process. But, you know, we never sugarcoated it. And we understood that, you know, I made some really poor choices. And, you know, I have a son who is 18 now, who's never seen the inside of a prison, never, you know what I mean? So, you know, when I was 19, I went to Summers Prison. That was the first place I went, and all my friends were there. So, you know, it's my job and many of us on the call to be role models that, you know what, you don't have to sell drugs to get a Benz. You don't have to do these. So every day, it's not just for my kids, but it's other kids in the community. Because when I go behind the wall and I talk to people as a coach, I say as coaches, as brothers in the community, we are raising your sons and daughters while you are here. So you need to work on yourself so you're in the right position when you get back out.
You know, Nelson Mandela served 27 years in prison. Most of you know the story of Mandela and for being a political prisoner. And he mentioned that being in prison was actually a good thing for him because it gave him the chance to think. For the first time he had some solitude, he could think. I'm curious, Daryl, what did you think about that as far as helping you change your life around?
Well, I appreciate the question, Stan. You know, you're a good guy, man. We talk all the time, you know, offline. I really appreciate the question because it gives me the opportunity to talk about writing a 5-year plan when I was in prison. You know, I wrote a 5-year plan, which today I call the roadmap to reentry. And I had a lot of time to think. And when I talk to people and I think about it myself, the opportunity was like when we play as kids, you know, you used to play timeout. Let me tie my shoe, timeout. So I took that time out to really examine myself, peel the onion back and see who I wanted to be, not only as a dad, but who did I want to be as a community member? What impacts did I want to make in the community when I got out? Because I know I realized when I was inside that I was detached. I wasn't part of the community. And the biggest thing that I noticed is that I grew up without a dad. And all the things that I did not want, you know, to experience from not having a dad, I was really putting my kids through the same exact thing. You know, yeah, I didn't leave them, but I was incarcerated. So that's the same exact thing. So I found that they were experiencing the same thing. So I wanted to change that trajectory. And by changing that, it changed their experience as moving through life, that those similar experiences that I had at 19, 16, and 18, that won't even be their reality because those are not the circles that they move in.
Brandon McGee, same question. What example have you set in living your life that you hope will inspire your children?
You know, living with purpose. And I know it's a bit much to expect a 2 and a 4-year-old to understand their purpose. But for me, planting the seed and allowing my children to see me being consistent, giving, helping them to understand that we are fortunate, but it's important to give back. And that starts at home. So sharing with your little sister. And of course, y'all can imagine I'm the only male in the house, so everybody is everywhere. But it's something that's ever evolving. I think for me, helping my girls to understand everything that I said is something that I hope that they could take and give to their children.
Justin Mitchell. Same question. What example have you set? I'm sorry. What example have you set for your life that you hope will inspire your children?
Brandon said about, planting the seed, and, I want my kids to know I have faith in them. There's nothing worse than the farmer that want to dig up the seed to make sure it's growing. You got to have faith in it. So, you just got to water it. We got to, nourish it. We have to speak to it kindly and know that it's going to turn out the way it's supposed to turn out. And the most important thing is just leading. Actions speak louder than words. So our kids are going to do what they see more than what we say. So if we tell them, focus on education, but we ain't educated, we stay off your phone, but we always on our phone, and things like that. So they see us. I tell my kids to read more, but I wasn't reading. So it's like, they like, okay, but you're not reading. So now I want them to see me with a book. So when I tell them to do something, they have somebody to look for and look at, that they know that I'm not just having lip service, so I think that's very important, is practice what we preach and not just say things to better themselves, but we should be better in ourselves in order for them to better themselves.
Michael Smith, same question. You gotta unmute yourself there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Anyway, what can I tell you? I would have to say maybe step out of their comfort zone. I've had to, as a father, especially when my kids were young, I really had to step out of my comfort zone. I worked as a mascot just so that I could be around my kids more, and I could bring them to places that, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford to bring them to. I worked as a linesman for, on a football field when my son was playing football, so here I am, I'm out there with the sticks and the chains running up and down the sidelines, gosh, like I said, but it was always, wasn't something I was comfortable doing. I did it anyway because, it gave me that opportunity to be around my kids more. So I really had to step out of my comfort zone. But I found in doing that, it kind of enriched everything that I was experiencing, So I guess if there was any lesson to be learned is that they have to, do things that's going to enrich their lives, and never, do different things. You know what I mean? If it's positive, get in there and do it. So, that's
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Michael. Stefan Palmer, same question. What example have you set in living your life that you hope will inspire your children?
Well, as everyone said here, I try to paint that example for my sons mainly. Find yourself first before you decide to step out and do anything with your friends, with your cousins. Figure out who you are as a person first. Whatever you decide you want to do, I'm going to support you wholeheartedly. Be the person that helps out in your community, because giving to the community, you'll be blessed in the long run. I tell them education is important. As another father said, my oldest son asked me, why am I pushing him to go to college and I didn't go to college? So the next day I went and signed up for college, and now I've been to college 3 times. My oldest son asked me about what to do when he has a kid. So, I sat down with him even before he had it. Well, he doesn't have a kid yet, God forbid. And taught him the paperwork, taught him the procedures, taught him when you do go to court, you throw a suit and tie on. You don't go in there with your sneakers and your jeans on. Both of my sons, they attend my fatherhood program where we work with other dads. And I tell them the same thing I tell the fathers. You find yourself first. You work on your own mental sanity. You build yourself up to the person that you want to be, because if you're not complete, you can't really be there for no one else. And I think a lot of people skip that step. But I tell all my children, as long as you strive for the better, you'll reach that goal at some point.
Now, Stefan, you're a single father and also a founder of Youth on Fire. How do you think being a single father, how do you think that has impacted your children and you?
It's taught me a lot. One, it's pushed me to learn more. It's pushed me to educate myself and to learn to find resources. And, it's helped me grow emotionally as a man. Not having a significant other in the corner to turn to lean on when certain situations come up. You have to learn how to adapt. You have to learn how to come out of your comfort zone. And you have to learn, there's times where you just have to be patient with your children, because some of them grow differently. Some of them learn differently. Some of them express themselves differently, but there's steps with each of them that you have to take in order to make sure that they grow correctly.
Thank you. Ram, same question. What example have you set in your life that you hope will inspire your children?
Well, I'm hoping that, there's a few examples that I've set, that they can take and make part of their lives as they're, raising their own family someday. And the first thing is really, I've always kept my kids and my family as number one. I didn't move, I didn't do LaRue until I knew my kids were right. So, whatever they needed, whether I wanted something or or just needed something, I made sure their needs were fulfilled before my needs were fulfilled. The second thing is really be an active part of your community, make a difference in somebody else's life, have an impact, with people around you. And then really the third thing I'm always harping with them really is have a game plan through life. Don't just go through life, day to day, without a purpose. Have a goal, but then roadmap how you're going to get to that goal, and what you think you need to achieve that goal, and have a purpose and have a goal every single day. And you can't help but be successful, to be honest with you, if you stay on that path.
Powerful words. Justin Mitchell, next question for you. Who was the most important male role model in your life? And what life lessons did you learn from that person?
It'd be my father. I always lived with my dad. There was a time where I didn't live with my mom, so I always stayed with my father. So that was a great person that I could look up to, and I had a great example right in the house. I used to get upset with him because he used to go be that person that went and picked up all the other kids when we went out and stuff. So I think it'd just be me and him about to go to the park, and he going to pick up 6, 7 other kids because they didn't have, that father figure, and he was doing that. And that's what I've become. I've become what he started off, and I want my kids to do the same things. And I didn't understand it at the time because, that selfish young 8, 9-year-old kid want to go to Riverside, and now he's paying for, so that's cutting into my bottom line. We could have been playing more games and stuff, but that was the selfishness, but I understand it more. So that was a great person. And people still to this day come up to me and tell me about my dad and how he impacted them. And I just want to have that same impact on the youth that I'm dealing with. And I want to pass that on to my kids.
And the thing is, he clearly had the understanding of that impact of bringing other kids. He understood the importance of a strong male, role model. So he understood that from a very long time. That's very powerful too. Brandon McGee, same question. Most important male role model in your life, and what did you learn?
Yeah, I don't have just one. So my father and mother were married 30 plus years. It's a little complicated in terms of my father. He was in and out of jail, prison. But every time he returned home, it felt like we never missed a beat. And my mother, who I just believe is the world's greatest, as we all should consider our parents, she never spoke ill of my father. So I never knew, things were bad. It was always good. Daddy will be right back, yada, yada, yada. And it was expected that I will become somebody. And so my mother, during those times when daddy was on a little vacation, my mother made sure that there were other positive male role models in my life. And I'm just going to give you 2 of them. Hold on one second, sweetie. Just, you got to bring it down a little bit. My pastor, who's my godfather, Marishall Monks, and June Archer, 2 men who really stepped into my life. My father, by the way, he passed away on graduation day. I graduated from college. He said, Brandon, I will live until I hear that you are walking across that stage. And he meant that, and he lived up to that. And so June and Marshall are two guys that have taught me the importance of family, and also the importance of my faith, and how my faith plays a very critical role in how I move, what I do. And I don't think I would be who I am today had it not been for those two men, including my dad. So three of them that taught me a great deal about this thing called life. So it's a hard question to answer, because it's it was a little bit of everything, but it was expected that a young boy, and I'm sorry I'm taking a little long on this, but it was expected that a young boy from the north end of Hartford to be nothing, quite frankly, and to be like his dad, right? Driving around in the Cadillac, the big body Cadillac back in the day. And, being that OG and doing nothing. When folks see Brandon Jr., they like, you Hoss, son? That was his nickname. But he's Brandon Sr. And I said, absolutely. A lot of what, or rather who I am, is from my father. He cleaned up the neighborhood. He was respectful to people in the neighborhood. And the same thing that I'm doing, just slightly different, I get it from my dad. Yeah. And I appreciate all of those three men: Brandon Sr., June Archer, and Marshall Monks.
All right, very well said. Michael Smith, same question.
Well, that's a good question. It's funny because I draw back on my early days, because I'll just say a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned this in my bio, but my mom passed away when I was 2, and I told you I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and my dad. So, and my dad was a trucker, and basically, it was almost being raised platoon style, if you know what I mean. Because, you had, my older brothers and sisters were always around, even some of them who didn't live in the house with us, because by the time I came along, since I'm the youngest, it was like 5 of us left at home. So
you were the youngest, Michael. Sorry, Mike. You were the youngest of 9 kids, for context.
I was the youngest of 9 kids, and my mom passed away when I was 2. So, I had to, you grow up in that atmosphere. So I had like 8 other people kind of like crashing down on me all the time, trying to keep me in line. And part of that was, everybody had a job, and there's a lot expected, if you know what I mean. So from that particular standpoint, I look at my older brothers. One of my brothers is an attorney. And when I went to school, when I went to college, and here I am, I'm a freshman in college, scared as all heck, didn't believe I belonged there. And, he imparted words of wisdom onto me that I carry to this day, saying, hey, you work your hardest when you're in class and expect that everybody else is going to do the same thing. So, he kind of gave me that. So that was from his part, from his standpoint. My dad, on the other hand, he was kind of the guy who really operated kind of out of the box. If you had a problem, he found an interesting solution. Like I had a car that broke down, and my dad was a mechanic. So he had all these cars in his yard, because we at one point moved up to Bark Hampstead, because I'm from North End of Hartford myself, born in Bellevue Square. But so he moves us out to Bark Hampstead, and I had a problem with my car, go to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I need to get my car fixed. Could you loan me money for a car? And my dad literally looked at me and he said, son, look around you. We got nothing but cars up in here, okay? All you got to do is just fix one, and you could be rolling down the street before the end of the weekend. And he did that. I said to him, which car needs the least amount of work? He pointed out this beat up little car. And I literally was driving down the street before the end of the weekend.
Taught you resourcefulness, huh?
Yeah, he taught me how to think outside that box, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, another
You know.
great story. You all have such powerful stories, such inspiring stories. Stefan, same question for you. Most important role model in your life, and how did it shape you? Male role model.
My most important male role model was Bishop Kenny Peebles. He's no longer here with us. He came into my life when I was about 15, 16. One thing he told me, because I was always getting in trouble, was, you can reach the stars here on Earth. And I really didn't understand what he was talking about. I thought he was just talking in circles. And as I got older, some of the things that I wanted to accomplish, I realized I accomplished and didn't pay attention to. And he goes, didn't I tell you you can reach the stars here on Earth? He goes, how does it feel to know that you did things people said you could not ever do? I said, it feels good. He goes, those are the stars. You got to keep chasing that feeling for everything you do. Graduate what you do. Learn to pass that on, because the cup is always half full. It's never empty. And those words stuck with me from 15 till now. I tell it to all my children. I tell it to the men I work with. The only person that can stop you is you. And that's one thing that he really, really poured into me.
Keep striving. LaRue Graham, same question.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I was muted. Yeah, the most important role model in my life that's a male, without a doubt, is absolutely my dad. Even though my parents divorced at 5 and then at 10 years old, we moved here to Connecticut. Even though we had that separation by state, there was never a separation by love. We were always in communication, and he always let me know that if I had to get to you, I could get to you. That was good and bad. But he really taught me the value of hard work. You're talking about an individual who only has an 8th grade education, but has a thriving, successful business of his own, and has done it all through hard work, and is one of the most successful landscapers in the state of New Jersey. And really kind of just giving me a value or a sense of self-value. Always let me know where I came from. Let me know of all the good things that my grandparents did, that their parents did. And just let me know that, those traits are in my blood, and that I'm a Graham, and that I should be proud to be a Graham, and I've always been proud. So yeah, without a doubt, my dad's been the most guiding influence from a male perspective in my life.
Great answers, gentlemen. I want to talk about where you're falling short. You've talked about how you've inspired, how you've been inspired. I want you to speak candidly about where you think you're falling short as a dad and how you're hoping to improve that. LaRue, will stay with you. What do you want to get better at as a dad?
Yeah, I mean, there's no exact formula for being a good dad. I think the one thing that I probably could improve on, and I work on it, and realize that sometimes I am short with that, is in my patience. Depending upon what other things may be affecting my day, sometimes I could be a little short with my answers, or a little quick with my tongue. And so, one of the things that I'm trying to improve on is to really not really necessarily respond or answer right away if I'm feeling that stress, just to kind of give it some time to marinate on it, and then come back with a more thoughtful way of communicating to my kids.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted. Stan, you're muted.
Stan, you're on mute.
All right, I'm on mute. What I was saying, LaRue, is that it's so important, whether it's with children or with adults, learning how to keep your emotions in check when your temperature starts to rise is such an important gift to give to yourself, when you can be in control of your emotions under any circumstance. Stefan Palmer, same question. Where do you think you're falling short, if you will, or where do you want to improve it as a dad?
Time. I have 5 kids. I own a program. I go to school, and I'm on like 4 different boards. If I fall short anywhere, it's not enough time in the day.
Everyone, welcome Jamila. So Jamila, let's talk. Give your response
Yeah, one more time.
I would say time. Can you hear me?
Yes, give it up.
I would say time. It's not enough time in the day. I have 5 children. I'm going to school. I'm on different boards, working with different people, working with different community agencies as well. So I would say I fall short with time, not being able to be in enough places at once.
Right, I imagine. Okay, Michael Smith.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd have to probably echo the issue with time. I mean, at this point in time in my life, I really, wish that I had an opportunity, to show my kids more of the world. Not that I, couldn't. We traveled to different states and, but, not having them experience it up until, like they're in their 20s and, barely left Connecticut, maybe went down to North Carolina or something, but we have family from Texas to, to Maine. And I really want to try to create an opportunity for my kids to experience that. So I think that's where I kind of fall short. I'm hoping that in the future, that I'll be able to do that. I'm going to try to do that, as more time becomes available to me.
Brandon McGee. Where do you think you're falling short, or the area you want to improve on today?
Yeah, time is one of the go-to ones. I mean, it's always good to improve your time that you spend with your family. For me, it'll be more around, and I think Brother Graham said it, depending on where you are in your workspace, and I'm a bivocational legislator, I have to hold a real job that's going to pay the bills and also work as a legislator. And sometimes, especially during those times during the legislative season or session, I'm under the gun. I'm under pressure. And I have to constantly remind myself that my children and even my wife may not even know, okay, how many calls I've received by the time I get home, but it really doesn't matter, right? I have to be able to compartmentalize and to really shift all of that frustration that I'm having outside of the house and refocus. And so I've been learning, number one, you need to talk to somebody. So I got a therapist, and ain't nothing wrong with that, Black men. I'm not preaching to y'all, but those who are listening, that's a good thing. And also understanding, just decompress. I go on long walks. I enjoy reading and listening to podcasts, or obviously church is another safe space for me. And so understanding all of that really helps me to improve in those areas where I'm just a little pensive, I'm a little edgy, and having a 2 and 4-year-old, they busy. They are busy. And so they're teaching me the importance of patience and obviously time as well.
You mentioned having a sounding board and getting help if you need it. It's so important, particularly in our community, particularly with the Black males.
That's
Why
right.
I think this forum here is so powerful, because it's not every day that people in the audience get to see Black males talking about fatherhood and the love and care of their children, empathy, and setting goals. Black men get demonized a lot, we know, in society. And so this is, I think, a powerful antidote, what you're talking about, Brandon, to be able to see people who can help you come to terms with your issues by seeing other Black males talking candidly about their situation. So wanted to share that. Now I lost track. Justin, did I hit you? I lost track of I'm out here rambling on. I lost track.
I'm sorry, talking too much, but I figured I didn't talk a lot earlier.
No, you did fine.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Justin, and then Daryl.
All right. With me personally, I have how am I say that? I want to be politically correct. I have children with 3 different women. Mm-hmm. So that was rough for me growing, but what I did find out is I had to learn how to take responsibility for my actions. and not blame others. I always, oh, she don't let me see my kid, or that, you know, making excuses instead of going above and beyond. And that's why people in my situation, and that's why I started this fatherhood initiative, because there's a lot of men out there with multiple, you know, children's, you know, out around, and like, oh, they won't let me see them. Well, you gotta have to work extra hard. Just like if you got a criminal record, oh, we can't get a job. You just got to work extra hard. Then when there's a will, there's a way. So I got a support group of other men like myself that we support each other, and we don't just take no for an answer. So if she say I can't see it, well, yes, I am. I might, you know, got to keep pushing, because at the end of the day, the children are going to be affected. So that's a piece of you. So when you just let that go away, that's going to be a piece of you that's not going, you're not going to be whole. So until you try to mend that relationship with your children, you can have a divorce, anything, whatever happens, you have to try to make it work until the day you die, because you're going to have a hole in yourself that won't be cured until you mend that with your child.
Gerald McCraw, we have about 30 seconds. You think you can wrap up your poignant thought in 30 seconds? Where do you think you fall short, and how do you want to be a better dad? What are you working on?
No, I think that, I really appreciate the conversation and the invite again. This was very fruitful for me. But I think for me, falling short comes where, I think that giving too much, right? Growing up in, for me, I grew up, in the hood. I grew up, where no was a common thing. No, we can't afford it. No, you can't do this. No, no, no. So trying to change that, and give, I think we've given too much. I think I've given too much and made things a little too easy. And so there's this expectation that things just fall out the sky and that they're going to happen. When I wanted a car, my mother said nobody brought me a car. My daughter's crashed 3 cars. So I'm just like, in her defense, she hit a deer. But in the same respect, though, I think that missing piece of having to work hard or to strive for it, I think I need to work harder at really instilling, like, Sunday cleaning. Everybody knew we grew up a Sunday or Saturday or whatever day it was, music was on and you clean, and there was just nothing about that. And, just really embracing that, that conversation,
Before I toss to Tony Junkins, Daryl, I just echo what you're saying. My challenge with my daughter in particular is that bright line between spoiling, giving her what she wants, what she needs, and spoiling her. How do you create that work ethic where I'm always saying to her, what kind of skin are you gonna put in the game? Or you want something, what kind of skin are you gonna put in the game to go and get that? So I think it's a challenge we all have. We all want to spoil our kids, particularly our daughters, but you also want to teach them that really good work ethic and to persevere and what have you. So I want to echo what you said there. Tony Junkins, I think you have some questions from the internet.
Great, thanks, Stan.
Sure.
Thanks to our panelists. You guys have been amazing, as this has been some very rich discussion. And now we're going to take a few questions from the folks viewing on the many social media platforms. The first question is to the panel: what is your favorite thing to do with your child?
For me, it's watch cartoons.
Everything you do with child.
For me, it's going to go get pedicures and manicures and having pizza. And lastly, just chilling in the house, running around the house, driving my wife crazy.
That's good stuff. How about you, Daryl?
Yes.
Anthony, I was talking to people in my office here. Did you give me the question again? I'll give it to you. What you got? I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem. What is your favorite thing to do with your child?
Oh man, anybody knows me, man. If you follow me on social media, I'm gonna say eat, man. We trying to eat everywhere and anywhere, man. I'm trying to instill that, and my youngest daughter is the road dog. She's my rider, man, and we like to go and eat, man, and just spend that time. Food is freedom, man. I've been in places where they told you what to eat, when to eat it, and how to eat it. Now, I go everywhere and I, just experiment, man. So food. Thank you for the question, though, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good to see you as well.
That's a great question.
LaRue, how about you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I guess, the best thing, the the favorite thing that I like to do is just spend time with my kids, as much time as possible, and really kind of enjoy them in their element. So whatever it is that they love to do, I love to be there present to watch them do it. You know, if it's my sons and them playing football, you know, I'm enjoying that the most. So whatever they are doing, whatever, you know, activities they're participating in, I just like being there to see the joy in their face while they're performing.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Justin, how about you?
As a group, all five, we like to go bowling. That's a nice game. We get real competitive. We split up teams and go at it. But with my team boys, we play golf now. So anybody think they could get it, we go out there. We be rocking and rolling.
Nice.
Myself play on the golf team. So we, you know, them clubs, we out there.
Awesome, awesome. So,
Yeah.
and we'll start with Michael. The next question is,
Oh, geez.
what do you enjoy most about being a father?
What do I enjoy most about being a father? Oh gosh. Well, I'll just say this, that it has stretched me in ways that like I said, I've never been stretched before. Had me doing, like, for instance, coaching, and one time working as a mascot, almost getting run over by a Zamboni machine in the Civic Center. That was not fun, but you know, it brought some laughter from a lot of people, and not to mention my kids, who probably were there watching it, witnessing it. But let me see what else. Oh gosh, I used to play ball with my sons. That always brought me joy back when I could play. You know,
Yeah.
You know, I would play basketball with my sons, and you know, gosh, what was it? One day I came home, and well, actually, I had gotten, like, you know, the COVID virus, and I was, like, basically put on ice for 3 weeks. And after I was cleared, my oldest son ran over to me and gave me this huge hug. Now, my oldest boy is about 6'3" and weighs about 300 pounds. So I almost got crushed. So, because I'm about 5 foot nothing. So
He missed you. He missed you very much. Brandon, how about you? What do you enjoy the most about being a dad?
Watching something that my wife and I helped to create, and to see yourself. And my mom always used to say, "Oh, I see myself, or your dad in you, and you're doing." And then to actually witness as an adult, it is something amazing. And just they're so impressionable, they're so vulnerable, and for you to have that level of influence over a little person's life and to help to shape them, that's rewarding in and of itself.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. How about you, LaRue?
You know, when I reflected being a dad, the dad to me was probably the most important title that I was ever going to be given. And it was the one job, you know, I've had many jobs in my life, but it was the one job that I knew I could not fail. And that I had to figure out a way to be successful, to be honest with you. So, you know, just being a big part of their life and a guiding part and imparting some values and principles in their lives, that's probably the most rewarding part.
Awesome. That is excellent. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to ask a third question here. How has your life changed since becoming a father? And we'll go to Stefan on that one.
Since becoming a father, I say I've become more mature, more understanding, and more patient. Whereas if you ask my mother before I had my first kid, she would say I was out of control.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you,
yeah.
Daryl?
Oh man, I think that's a great question. Whereas for me, it made me start to see I always use chess analogies, and it made me see the board a lot more clearer. You know, it wasn't just about me. Once you start having kids and you have kids, you know, even in the street and in an active addiction, it was always about me getting mine off the top. And then when I had kids, I realized it had really little to do with me anymore. You know, it became more about the kids and what could I give them. You know, I love the question that you asked earlier. And I think with kids, you know, some days you're the student and other days you're the teacher, and you just never know. That could change at any moment. Like, you know, having those conversations with kids, you know, I think we've all expressed that. So, you know, just those moments where some days you're the teacher and some days you're the student.
Excellent, excellent. Justin, how has your life changed since becoming a father?
Oof. I really can't even fathom not being a father. You know, I've been a father for so long, like, you know, mostly, you know, all my adulthood life that I've been a father. And it's just like, I have a why. You know, I have a reason to wake up in the morning. I have a reason to want to live. You know, before that, like a lot of people, you know, you don't care if you live or die. I do, because I have people that are looking up to me and are dependent on me. So I have a reason. I want to be healthy. I want to be here till I want to live to about 126. I tell my kids all the time, at least 125. They be like, you know, because that's I don't want to leave them, you know? So it's like, I have a reason to want to be healthy. I have a reason to, you know, be on this earth. So, you know, that's a great question. Love it.
Great, great. And that's an amazing response. You guys have been great. That was the last question. We're going to turn it over now to Senator Merida Moore to provide us with some closing remarks. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. You warm my heart. I don't think there's anything that touches me more than to see a dad out with his children, nurturing them, laughing, joking, reprimanding them, and loving them. And you all personify all of that. You know, this is how God guides me. I found out I had Netflix yesterday, didn't know it. And I turned on the TV and it was the Fatherhood with Kevin Hart. I'm like amazed, like I'm getting ready to watch this. I watched it last night, right? That opened up my heart and mind to thinking about what it's like for a father to be here raising a child without a mother, right? But many of you all have the mother around still. It's just really amazing how narrow our thinking can be about what a father is and how much work they're doing to nurture children, to bring them up. And some of it is generational, you know, when you think about the fathers of the past and what they wouldn't do, what they wouldn't hug their child. They didn't want them to be soft, you know, they wanted them to be hard. And I heard that comment, I don't have a nickel in that dime. That's my generation hearing that. I don't have a nickel in that dime. Don't bring me here with that. But I want to salute you all for the work you're doing and the love you have for your families. I want to pray that you all continue to do that work and wish you that you had a great Father's Day, enjoying your family and your role in the community. I am deeply moved by some of the things that have been said here today and how much you care about your children. But more importantly, I think it would be really important for mothers and women to watch this happen, right? And listen to what you're doing in the way of taking on your role as a father, because that's the story that gets left behind with females. Although dads may be having that conversation among each other, I don't think that conversation is always prevalent among women. You know, we hear the other side of the story, you know, and your story, you tell your story, you all do you, and make sure that your story is out there and people, other young men and older men can see how you're changing the role of a father, that you're engaged, that you love your children, that you've been through some stuff, but your children are actually learning from the stuff that you've been. You can only bring them to a certain place, but you know what they'll always remember? They will remember that time you told them not to do something and they did it anyway, and they won't admit it. They won't admit it, but dad was right. I should have followed it. But also they'll remember that loving moment that you had with them. I know so many men like in their 60s and 70s who are still hurting because they didn't have a father in their life, because their father, it was a negative experience. They didn't do anything with them. They played that hard role, and they still talk about it. When you get to know them, they start talking about the father that they missed in their lives. So you're changing the narrative, and I salute you. I'm so proud to have a nickel in this dime, by being the co-chair with Deputy Commissioner Kathleen Brennan. I'm so happy to be a part of this. This is a new experience for me. And from where I stand, I will do whatever I can to help you all. I will do whatever I can to illuminate what you're doing, but also to make sure that we're able to sustain you. I know Stephen from 2Gen, right? I've known him for about 3 or 4 years. I'm very grateful to you. I want to thank Stan Simpson, who I've had the opportunity to be on his radio show. So it's nice to be here together with you all. But I salute you all and say thank you for what you're doing and being able for other fathers to see you're not punks, you're fathers. And your role is equally important as the role of a mother. For many of you, you are the mother and the father, right? So I salute you and I thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much, Senator Moore. And I just want to wrap this up by really expressing my own appreciation. You know, I've worked with several of you over the years in various capacities, and I have to say, I have never been prouder of the state of Connecticut and the dads that I'm seeing on this screen right now. You are a testament to your children, a testament to your families, and a testament to the future of this state. And I'm really glad to call you neighbor and to call you friend. So thank you so much. I want to thank Stan Simpson for your expert moderation. I want to thank our dads who opened up for us and for kids and families who are listening and are inspired by your stories. I want to thank my co-chair, Anthony Judkins, and of course, Deputy Commissioner Senator Moore and Representative McGee. This shows why it's so critical that leaders know who the dads are in our communities, what they do, and how they teach love and inspire every day so that we can do everything we can to support them in those efforts. So again, thank you all so much and have a wonderful night.